What can I know? Always forget.
Okay.
Are we ready? Do you
Uh,
wanna say something first?
Not really.
I'm not live yet. I think so.
it's fine.
What's wrong?
Don't worry about it, nothing. Sorry, I didn't notice the things that I might have just noticed. I don't care. So move along.
Go live. Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Peace has been held.
Are you talking about the agenda?
No, I was talking about a thing I noticed in, yeah, we can talk later, it's fine.
Oh, in that, okay. I don't know what it is then.
No, it's fine.
Power on.
Power-
We are live.
Okay,
I
we are
think.
live.
Does
Do we
anybody
have,
see that we're live?
I don't have that up at the moment. Is that recorder started over there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
then we are good to go.
Does it look like it's live?
I don't know. Hold on. I have to navigate.
Make sure this is doing what it's supposed to. It's on. Hit the button. Try to share it to the right place.
Yes, it is live. I can see myself waving.
I was just kidding. It didn't come up like, yeah, mine must really turn.
It looks,
Oh, this one made dead. This one's dead.
oh, no,
So we have one.
I did the right thing.
You did do the right thing.
That's what I'm on it.
Oh, wait, maybe not.
I did the
We're
right
good, it's recorded for a minute. All right, this is November 9th, Village of Minerva Park Council meeting. Let's start with roll call. Council President Wolf.
here.
Councilperson McNamara.
Present?
Councilperson Benedetti.
Here.
Councilperson Bruger.
Here.
Councilperson Stern. Here. And Councilperson Curl is not here. Yet, we'll see. And then let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's go to the meeting minutes. And these would be from October 26, 2021, council meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, Council President Wolf.
Oh, yep, we have green cards, so anybody who is in attendance is welcome to pick up a green card and submit that so we can slide it into the agenda as is appropriate, or you can hold your comments, so citizens' comments.
Perfect. All right, village official reports, and let's start with police. Police. I was trying to say police and chief at the same time. Police Chief Matt Dahl.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hopefully you received a copy of the report. I don't have anything to add at this time.
Does anybody have any questions? No, we've had a chance. All right. Let's move on. If you have questions, you guys can interrupt me later. Fiscal Officer Leah Klein, she is finishing up some stuff from being on vacation last week, so she is not here, but as far as that goes, we really don't have too much going on in that department right now. We do have some legislation, the budget is in there, and there is an appropriation that we added in there for the TIF. So there's a couple things there, but there really wasn't too much to add right now. And then we have started adding in the engineer's report in here to make my life easy, so you guys can kind of read along to it. But I am going to go find it, here we go. And it's actually much shorter now. So we don't have as much going on. Task order number 14, Westerville City Schools. This is the engineer's report, did I already say that part? Okay, good. Task order number 14, Westerville City School District, Minerva Park Schools, plan review. We are waiting for the school district to submit its proposed widening plan for Farviesville. And they will review the plan as soon as it is submitted. And then everything else, they are, the 2021 Storm Sewer Improvement Project, as of right now, that is basically the East Shore Court project, so there's really been no updates on that. It's been postponed until the spring due to not being able to get some of the equipment. the 2022 storm sewer improvement project. As of right now, Resource International is doing their survey. They're out every single day. They were in my backyard yesterday. So that is moving right along. And then the 2021 storm sewer CCTV analysis, we have been given the reports of the previous section that we just did for the storm sewer analysis, and it's in the ball's in our court right now to determine when and if we want to move forward with some of those repairs. There was nothing that was absolutely failing, but there were definitely things that need addressed. So that's something that we will be reviewing probably in 2022 when we have a new streets committee chair. So that's that. That is Mike Flickinger's report. Does anybody have any questions for me for Mike? All right, let's move on to legal counsel tonight. As everybody is aware, we moved our meetings from Monday to Tuesday. Jesse does in fact have a prior engagement with another municipality, and he will not be here tonight, and is more than likely going to be here next Tuesday. So legal counsel's not here. If anybody has any questions, feel free to email me, and I would be more than happy to reach out to legal counsel as well.
Can I just, at this time, I know this is part of Jesse's question.
Yes.
Do we have a date for the appeal, the fence appeal yet?
We do not,
No, I didn't think so.
we do not.
So it's not happening this week?
It is not happening as far as I know, because the 18th was put out there and some members of council couldn't make it, and there was.
This member, I'll own it.
No, I can.
No, there were
Oh,
other
this
people who
meeting.
couldn't make the meeting, it was gonna be difficult, so, that was one issue, and so he's trying to get dates back from legal counsel. It's just like a court, it takes time to get the councils together and set a date.
If it's just like court, this could go on for a
It
while.
could indeed, so we'll figure it out.
So once we have a date, we'll let everybody know. But at this point in time, I know he sent out some dates, but I know he was trying to coordinate with their attorneys as well, so probably getting their dates first. So Tony, you are up for planning and zoning.
Well, nothing really to report, except for this is my last time to report. There's nothing to report, because this is we had our last meeting. You know, honestly, I wanted to go on about my feelings of planning and zoning, but, you know, it's very dysfunctional right now. Can't get people to show up. But I'll just save that for the next council, because it'll fall on deaf ears here. That's all I got.
Perfect.
Perfect.
That's an update, so perfect.
Well, and I'll just ask some clarification. So are the actual voting members of the committee not showing up on a regular basis?
It's good. It's for. I mean, it's you know, it's what I would say about it is that people go there. This is my opinion. Is that we've got people that have come. They've come to the meetings and they've not shown back up. You know, it's almost the way I would describe it. You know, and it's because of the atmosphere of that meeting and what we accomplish and what we don't accomplish. It's, you know, we spent meeting after meeting talking about this shelter that P&Z is going to recommend to council that we put in. You know, but you know, we go through all this work, but now it comes to council, and who knows what council's going to do with regard to the shelter or with regard to the amphitheater. You know, we spent a lot of time coming up with, you know, ideas and plans for these things, and I know it's got to seem discouraging to spend a bunch of time working on this stuff only for it to come to council and then have to shoot it down and say, we don't want to do that, because that's where I'm at with the shelter. I don't really think we need a shelter where planning and zoning is going to recommend that it's being put. And the number's up to like $50,000 for this one shelter. You know, so I guess the short of my rant here is that planning and zoning commission needs some direction. And you know, that's all I have. That's my take on my 4 years of being on planning and zoning, because I wanted to try to fix that group you know, for the last 4 years, and it's no better now than it was when I got started.
Well, thank you for trying. 4 years is quite a
Well,
time.
I'd like to get back onto planning and zoning. You know, but we'll see how that works out. But like I said, I'm sure there'll be, just won't be long before there's an opening because no one's showing up.
Okay,
Well,
Thanks for
yeah, well, okay, so I was talking to Beth, and she didn't show up because she had surgery and she's out. But she had been showing up, and I know that but I know she also kind of shares the frustration of the meetings not being managed so that everyone has a chance to speak, et cetera, et cetera. But the rest of it, in terms of the shelter, I think everyone else on council when we took the poll vote, was for a shelter of some kind. Maybe not that style, or maybe not that cost, but they wanted, or that place, but definitely was for a shelter. So I think the shelter is definitely gonna get, per se, is gonna get a good hearing when it gets to council. At least this year, next year, who knows?
Well, right, and that was, I understand that, and
Yeah.
that's part, the planning and zoning put together a plan, and that was part of the plan. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't know
It
why.
hasn't come to council yet, so just for anybody who's listening, it hasn't come to council yet, the shelter, so we can't have a discussion.
Well, and I can't, I thought I was able to officially pronounce that we're going forward with that, but I don't know that I was given the okay yet. And that's why I say it's frustrating, in that, we've been talking about it, but I can't come to council and say, well, we've officially decided to recommend that you do this. But thanks again for listening.
thank you. Okay, let's go to village planner, Eric Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to add on to into Tony's thing on planning and zoning. So, Mayor, correct me, did we not recommend it up to council? I thought we did last time.
No, we actually have, at this
Okay.
point, we know that it's probably gonna need to go out to bid, because it's right at that $50,000 threshold, so.
So I think that,
But at this point, the recommendation from council, in my understanding, was to review some of the different sites, but ultimately that is the site that
Yeah.
planning and zoning.
there were two
And Tony was
potentials.
one of the ones that was open for the possibility of another one that was down in that area, down in the,
Which side were they, what side are they currently thinking of?
There were two.
yeah, there are two. The number one is actually behind the playground, across from, the place where we were at,
Yeah,
across from the basketball court.
The other one is down between phase 5 and phase 3, down in between those areas of the lower kind of
The
valley
low
area.
area.
Yeah, the valley area. It will be for a smaller one, and council, the recommendation as it may come up, should talk about both sites being viable with two different possibilities. Council can choose to do one, both, or zero, right? And P&Z did put time into it. And I would say, P&Z has, they're doing their job. They have an excellent chair in Brady Oxender, and I would encourage that perhaps council would like to hear from the chair at some point in the future, especially in the coming year. He is very good at what he does, and he's been a good chair overall. I've worked with multiples over my time, and he's a better one. He's solid. The other thing that P&Z did work on, the amphitheater, we've wrapped most of that work up, and we'll be able to go to application at this stage. So, P&Z has put together work that then staff, administration can then put into the application to put forward to the state to then review, and so we can get approved for our money, and you'll see that come up, council will be part of that process, because you'll need to basically appropriate the money in the coming year, and we'll need by ordinance to show that to the state people, so that they can then allow us access to it.
I thought that didn't have to be appropriated because it was coming out of the
It will indeed have to be appropriated.
the fund.
You have to have an ordinance or a resolution, but in this case, an ordinance would be fine, something that says, yes, we are supporting the project, and there has to be some proof, that you have allocated the funding,
Well, we've
specifically to the
appropriated all the
project.
money in the parkland fund.
Yeah, but
That is for the shelter.
that's not for the amphitheater work,
I
right?
thought that
So
was,
the
so I
amphitheater
thought we were
is
talking
different.
about the shelter.
No, I'm talking about the amphitheater at this stage,
Oh,
that we'll be
No,
going to.
we went from one to the next.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I missed that.
I lost it. I I missed that myself, so.
Yeah. So, and then at the last meeting as well, legislation will look at it next week. If they went through some of the signed codes, so legislation will get that in their hot hands next week. And Jesse has already prepared a draft because there's some, as we discussed prior, there's some free speech issues. So they've already reviewed some of the recent court rulings, and we've already applied that to some of the suggested language. So we'll have that in front of legislation next week. And so, you know, I would simply say, you know, that overall your P&Z is working as it should, and although some folks may not, you know, appreciate what it does, you have to get stuff recommended up, and it's a process, and sometimes councils don't always agree with P&Zs, and that's part of the game. From my report standpoint, just two things. One, it took a little while, longer than expected, but the GIS is produced. I reviewed some of it with the mayor, and we gave comments back to the engineers, so there just needs to be some labeling and so forth, but we should be able to get a live version for public use and council review. I hope upcoming here between Thanksgiving and Christmas, something up there on the website. And then a little report is I've had a couple of conversations with ODOT 6 engineer concerning State Route 3 and Minerva Lake Road intersection, because it was on again, off again they had some bidding problems, they took it off the board. I've had some good conversations to kind of, you know, help. He wants to help, so he's got to, I think what they're going to try to do now is they've got a paving project, no matter what, that's going to get spent. And they're going to do some engineering in-house. One of the problems is they had so much work they were bidding out, and they were getting the cost to do the work bid come back. It was equal to $200,000 to do the intersection work, which is ridiculous. So that's why it's been kind of a crazy time, as we all know, with bidding. But it's back on their radar. They're going to have an internal discussion, so they're keeping you apprised. And with any luck, within hopefully July of 2022, you'll have some real work done and improve that intersection down there, restripe it, and make it safer. So.
Wonderful.
It's been a long time coming.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I hadn't gotten that update yet, but I know we talked about it a couple times, that,
Wait a minute, I want to make sure, so they're gonna improve or do some expansion to it?
Yeah, well, they have to, it was a long process, because this came up with the former chief, and,
Yes.
and our current chief knows what's been going on, because you've had some severe accidents down there, and so ODOT went through the process of reviewing the intersection, had to talk to Columbus, because they're part of that review process, because they're right nearby. One of the things they determined was that, you know how you have that, as you're coming southbound, right by the
Storage.
the storage, thank you. Your lane cuts in, forces people to race. They're going to extend that lane down quite a bit. And so that prevents that sudden coming over, which of course intersects right about the point where people are turning, which has caused some conflict with, you know, the intersection crashes. So that's the improvement that'll get done. But there needs to be some restriping along there too. And they're already gonna repave the road next year, and that was a large expense, so they're gonna try to glom everything together now. So,
Yeah, that's a long time coming.
it is a long time coming.
well, and part of it came back up, Chief and I talked about it, and Eric and I talked about it, because with the new schools coming in, that was one of the other things, that it's gonna be even worse. And so I had reached out to him a few months ago, and I basically got the, no, we're not doing it any longer. So that's when I talked to Eric, and Eric's like, wait a minute, I know somebody, so we kind of went that direction.
I know ODOT had said it was going to be done the last time I was on
Yes.
council, so
Yes.
that was 5 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's right about, basically they said they weren't doing it because the engineering was gonna cost more than all of that, so they put it back on, so.
I bet Westerville had something to do with that.
Yeah, so that was the other part, was to get them involved if we had to, with the new schools, so. Okay, thank you, and then everybody has the zoning officer's report. We have started adding in, as you can see, some of the, code numbers. So
Wow.
those have started to go on there as well. And again, this is a work in progress. I had talked to, we were gonna try, Eric, myself, and John, we're gonna try to meet on Monday, and we kind of all missed each other a little bit, so, we individually started, I shouldn't say individually, I met with each of them, and we started talking about the letters and to start that process right now. Revamping the letters and making sure that we have code numbers and,
Well,
ordinance numbers, violation numbers, whatever I'm trying to say. So we are working with all of that, trying to take some of your guys' recommendations, getting it to our code enforcement officer and making sure that we're all on the same team.
With that being said, I'm stoked that he's putting the numbers down here, but, you know, he's doing really good till he got down to garden and reserve area. You know, the number that he put there is exterior properties, and it's not the code it has nothing to do with garden and reserve area. And this, you know, I can appreciate him, you know, there not being a number, but for him to just pick a number out, and that's what he did there, 1480 point, where is it? 1480.12. That is exterior properties. It is the chapter title. You know, it's the title of the chapter. Then you go down to truck leaking oil onto the street. That's another one where he puts down the very first, you know, paragraph, but it's not a code violation. There is no, you know, as horrible as it may be that someone's putting a garden in the reserve area, there's not a code violation there. As horrible as it may sound that...
With the trespass code, actually, so if we wanted to be very technical,
Please,
we can do
here you go
trespass.
again, Eric.
Okay, we're not gonna do this tonight.
Okay, I didn't interrupt. All right.
I didn't call anybody's name, I just said we're not
Okay,
doing it.
with that being said, Chief, can I ask you, how would you go about filing charges of criminal trespassing for someone that drops leaf clippings in a reserve area? That's what Eric's trying to say you can do. And I'm trying, you know, does that make sense? Or is there a code? You know, criminal trespassing, that's what Eric's trying to say is the violation. So, I just want you to think about that, okay? I'm not asking for an answer right now, but just think about that, because that's what Eric's trying to present, is that it's criminal trespassing. The fact is that there isn't a code that prohibits someone from throwing grass clippings in a reserve. There isn't a code that, you know, that prohibits someone's car from leaking oil in the road. And there isn't a code that says you can't plant a garden in a reserve area. But, you know, the code, like I said, I appreciate that he put down some numbers, but to me it's real disingenuous when you pick a number just to have a number in there. Okay, and that's all, you know, Chief, I'd like to hear, you know, shoot me an email about criminal trespassing for throwing grass clippings in a reserve. That's all I got.
Okay, let's go to my report. My report's gonna be pretty simple. I don't really have too many updates. It's been pretty quiet around here, to be honest. One thing I will say is Eric and I are working on planning and zoning, as far as who seats up, who seats not up, so we will be determining all of that. We will be working on that. I've been working, like I said, with John and with Eric on numerous projects right now. It's pretty slow, so we don't really have, as you guys know, with the new council, actually, I'll say it now, thank you to everybody that, Diane and Tony, I know you guys only have 2 more meetings left, and congratulations to all the new members that will be joining, and you, staying, like you're staying, you stay, yeah, you kind of stay, so, but other than that, I mean, again, we don't have too much going on. I know most committees haven't been meeting, so I know we're at the end, so that's where we are. So we haven't had a lot of additional meetings, we haven't had a lot going on with the lakes or anything like that, so other than the streets projects, the sewer projects, that's really the only projects that we're currently dealing with right now. So does anybody have any questions for me?
I do.
Go for it.
I'm, you know, constantly reminded that I bring things up over and over again, same thing over and over again. Well, I want to bring up again, has the mayor approved the drawings from Garmin Miller? Because I've asked this over and over again, what phase of the contract are we in with Garmin Miller? This is probably the 4th time I've asked this question in a public meeting and have yet to get an answer. So I would like to know, because for me, I don't understand how you, the mayor or you, don't know what phase of the contract we're in with Garmin Miller. You are the 2 that are dealing with Garmin Miller. We're not involved in that stuff. So, again, Eric, what phase of the contract are we in?
I'll ask them to clarify where they think we're at, and I'll get it back to you at some point. I'll get it to the mayor, I'll get it to you.
That's great. That's great stuff, Eric. You're doing a great job.
I'll say,
I
I have a
appreciate
meeting,
it.
well, I'll tell
Do
you
you
that.
have you approved any drawings yet?
We haven't, we're not to that point yet. I understand,
Yeah.
we're not, we
Council's
we
gonna
aren't
get them
there.
back, we'll go get
So,
everything.
I will tell you, I have a meeting with them this week, so I will ask them to tell us exactly where they believe we are in all of this. But I do have a meeting with them this week. So I will be able to get you an
So
update
when,
before
I
Friday.
get, the end game for this is, when do we get to talk about making changes? Because,
So, go ahead, let me let you finish.
because, you know, the people that I've talked to about this building, people that were on the facility committee have concerns about this. And they're not crazy about the direction it's going. So, I'm begging this group and the next group, David, because you know, because you're the one that's gonna be approving all this stuff, you and the other 5 of you that are on council. This is heading towards a referendum. Unless you pull some stunt and try to pass this, you know, the contract as an emergency, this is going to go to the residents. And the reason that it's going to go to the residents for a vote is because they don't feel they've been involved in it. As much as we hear that, you know, we've considered the recommendations from the facility committee, that isn't really what happened in the drawings that we're looking at right now. So I'm begging you guys to start talking about moving things around and take a look. Everybody has been sent Beth McFarland's drawings for the community building. And I would highly recommend that council start looking at Beth McFarland's drawing because it has the community room on that side of the building. It is a plan that a lot of people like better than what they are seeing now. So if you want to avoid losing, the reason I keep asking what phase we're at, because once we get to a certain, even before we get to construction document phase, we owe the architect $50,000. If it stops right then, you know, right now and something happens, we owe him $50K right now. And if it goes into construction drawings, that's another $30,000, $40,000. You know, so the potential of an $80,000 loss, if this goes to a referendum, is very great. You know, so again, I hope you guys take a look at Beth McFarland's drawing. That's from an email probably in July, I think it goes back that far, that she sent to everybody. And that's part of the frustration that I think Beth feels, is that she sent this email out, and as far as I know, no one's responded back to her.
I actually have.
Okay, I'm gonna,
All right, I'm done.
okay, no, you're
Yeah.
fine, I'm gonna say a couple things and we're gonna move to the next thing. We have sent Beth McFarland's, we have had this conversation, I think at least 3 or 4 times about Beth's. We have talked about moving the community room onto the other side. We have been given information in writing more than once, just recently, from, and I don't know if you didn't, I mean, you guys were all copied on it as to the reasons that it was more expensive to do it. We have also, it's my turn, we have also met with council several times, you guys have looked at the diagrams, there were things that you didn't like the bathrooms, turning them into family bathrooms, there were things that Chief wanted moved, his office being moved in the processing room, Diane had also mentioned, you know, having it close to the bathroom. We have taken every single one of those recommendations and every single one, with the exception of the more expensive room being moved on the other side, and all of those that council had requested that we look at has already been implemented in the new plans. Those have been uploaded, you guys have seen copies of them, so I'm not gonna go any further in this. I have taken all of these considerations, you guys have given recommendations and they have been used. So I'm not sure what additional recommendations we're talking about, but now is not the time to go into into a facility. I'll be meeting with them this week.
Council's gonna get exterior stuff here soon. too.
Exactly.
So
So-
it's all coming back.
I will give you guys an update by Friday, just kind of telling you exactly where we are in the plan, because I do respect the question that you asked, and I will make sure that you get the answer to that by Friday, and now somebody remind
I
me
have
of that.
not, the only response that I got about it being more expensive to move was from Mark that said that it was grading. And
But he
I
got
have
that
yet to
email.
see anything from.
Yeah, that was said, that, he just forwarded what was said by the architect,
We
so.
will.
So will we also get, I know that, I think it was in the extra page for the newsletter that we talked about the new dates, didn't we? Because originally we were going to be ready to move ahead in
By the end of
the end of this year, but I believe we're into next year now, right? The last dates that you all.
We have to clarify
provided?
that, well, I don't
I'll
know.
clarify everything
Yeah.
from them by Friday, get
I
you guys
think
an
so,
update
but-
from them, because I will be meeting with them this week, and no, I don't believe that we're out of range where we need to be. I do believe we are still on target exactly where
I
we were.
think the target moved though.
I don't know that it did.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll
That's what
we'll verify everything for you.
Yeah, we'll verify, get everything, and I will make sure that we get that sent out. And we can even put a little update on the website, so just so people know where we are in the process. So, that is not an issue whatsoever. So let's go to the community councilperson David McNamara.
I do not have anything, major, well, not major, the only thing that I'm going to check on, and I intended to check tonight, was, where are we standing in the estimates with regards to Farview fencing modifications? Have those estimates come back yet, or are we still
No,
not as yet?
I'll get you some as soon as we have some.
Okay, no worries.
But
I gotta pester some people, but yeah.
Yeah, other than that, I have not held a meeting, and, we're getting into the holiday season, so. I mean, I'd like to once again extend my congratulations to the people who have been elected to council, and to Mr. Matthew Starr as well for running. I'd also like to thank Diane, Tony, and Joe for their years of service on council. Just to throw that officially in there, it's appreciated.
Very much so.
Laugh as much as you want, I appreciate sitting by you.
That you haven't
Some
seen.
days more than
Don't worry,
others.
you haven't seen the end of me yet, Dave.
That's a good thing, Tony, that's a good thing. All right, finance, let's go to President Brian Wolf.
Finance Committee did have a meeting last month in which we reviewed the proposed budget for 2022, or the proposed general, what's that word? General
General fund.
Budget.
General fund, yeah, that was the word I couldn't come up with, the general fund budget. We reviewed that, I believe that is on legislation tonight. We do need to have another meeting this month, if you can get with those people.
Already have, and we don't have a date set
Okay, yeah.
yet, so I'm hoping that I will get an answer for that even tonight.
Yep, so as soon as we know availability from Kim, we can work towards
And I
that.
did let her know, just as an FYI, if it needs to be Zoom to make life easy, that we would, that is an option.
Yes, we can absolutely give
Perfect.
it over. And that's it for me.
All right, let's go to streets. Councilperson Joe Curl is not here. I already gave Mike Flickinger's report. So at this point, we will move to NPCA Councilperson Diane Tripp.
Okay, excuse me, MPCA. So the MPCA and also, I'll wrap this into communications, I guess. MPCA and the village newsletter was for November and December combined, so it's one newsletter. It's in the process of being printed and mailed, so we're lucky to be the end of this week when people get that. And it'll have all of the events for MPCA for the rest of the year, which is the children's Christmas party, the carriage rides, the duck award, the holiday light contest, and the luminaries. So a lot of holiday stuff coming up, and hopefully people are able to participate. Also, we're trying to wrap up the membership drive by November 15th, which is this weekend. So we're hoping that people will please use an electronic methodology, is particularly nice, PayPal or Zelle, to pay their dues. Hopefully people will want to renew, and we'll get some new members as well. We've already had some new members, but obviously most people like to procrastinate the writing checks and things like that. So, but we hope everybody will get to it so it doesn't dribble on into next year.
Okay, I have a question. Online, can you just use debit card, credit card, or do you have to do the Zelle thing, or like what all options do you have online?
Online is PayPal.
It is PayPal, okay, that's what I missed. I just gave cash, because I didn't know how to,
Cash is good.
cash was good.
Cash is good, but I don't have you down as a paid member.
I gave mine
Who
to,
did you give it to?
on Jordan Road, all the way down at the
Oh,
end,
okay.
Maria has mine.
She has not reported either.
Okay, well,
so
I'm
that's
reporting to you that I'm,
once it is.
okay. And then did you have anything else for communications?
I don't have anything for communications. I think we're gonna wind it down, but if there are some communication, if there's something regarding communications that people would like to do before the end of the year, I'd be happy to have
Perfect.
a impromptu meeting and get it done.
All right, let's move over to Tony Benedetti's for safety.
Well, I actually do have something to report. I think this falls under the category of safety, as I'm glad to report that Chief Hofstetter was out doing his fall hydrant maintenance and sucking all the water out of the fire hydrants. But that brings up an issue for me with, our fire department. And, is Chief Hofstetter our fire chief, and how does that work? Is he a paid employee?
No.
Or?
At this time, he is still offered to do it as volunteer. Eric and I have been talking about how we are going to be moving forward from here on out. So there's a fine line, which I won't go into it right now, but
Do I
There's a
even
couple
have a
things.
safety committee meeting?
Maybe, at some point, I mean, there has to be, it'll be back in front of council, there'll have to be some proposals, as valuable and as nice as that is for Rick to do over the long term, there have to be some concerns about what do we do if something happens to Rick, so we have to have something in place, right? So that's a concern.
and are we doing the new development? There's a lack of communication, and I need to make sure my homes has been done, so I actually saw him out there earlier today too, but I've had no communication, so finding out exactly what's being done, what's not being done, and if we need to get somebody to do the new development, or, because I think that was an issue that we had last year, is
It's just a
There
very
were, I
odd
remember,
situation.
there
Where
were
we
three.
have a chief that just floating out there
Right.
and
He likes
And that
it.
is-
not at a meeting
Yeah.
and there's no reports, but he
Correct.
does go out and suck the water out of the fire.
We'll have to have,
hydrant.
we have an ongoing discussion about how to best proceed
We need
forward. and
to
handle it.
tighten up we need to tighten up the fire department,
yes.
what's left of it.
Yes.
So yes, thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions for Tony?
I got an answer.
Maybe we could
You got
have,
a question?
maybe we could make an educational opportunity, let some fire students in one of the programs come out and do it.
Oh, yeah, there's a liability issue in there
Yeah,
somewhere.
that's some of the concern too.
Yes,
So-
definitely. All right, let's go over to Mark Bruger, Councilperson Bruger for legislation.
Okay, we have not had a meeting since last we were here. We have a meeting next Tuesday at 6:30 before the meeting. Looks like we're gonna be talking some about, signs people are allowed to put in their, front yards, is the big thing I know is coming on the legislative, agenda. And apart from that, we have a lot of legislation to read, so I think I'll get into that.
Thank you.
All right. Ordinance 14/2021, an ordinance contracting FPT Project Finance Advisors LLC for advice related to certain municipal projects and related financing options and declaring an emergency. We are not waiving, we are, this is the third reading, I'm sorry. I can't believe it's November, I guess, is what I was looking down and thinking. This would be not to exceed $5,000 and looking for ways to essentially fund the building renewal and perhaps even the lakes. And I am going to move that we pass it as an emergency.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm all in favor of them lakes, let's do it.
Alright,
And of course, the reason for passing it as an emergency is once it's passed, then we can enter into the contract immediately, this is waiting 30 days.
try to get this ball rolling. Alright, Councilperson Berger,
Aye.
Council President Wolf,
Aye.
Councilperson McNamara,
Aye.
Councilperson Benedetti,
No.
and Councilperson Sherman.
Aye.
Okay. And that is moving forward. Okay, let's go to the next.
Ordinance 16/2021, an ordinance updating the employee handbook and declaring an emergency. However, this is not to be voted on tonight. Just some changes to holiday pay, and we want to get it.
And Juneteenth.
Yeah,
Oh, and it adds Juneteenth as one of our recognized holidays for the village. Along with New Year's Day, President's Day, Independence Day, Veterans Day, Day after Thanksgiving, Martin Luther King Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day.
So the only changes that we did to this document after fixing it over the weekend and after the work session is, instead of it saying part-time employees regularly scheduled to work 20 hours per week, we changed that to 10 hours per week and we added Juneteenth. That is what that document is for.
Okay, so we have another reading of this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we have another. Ordinance 17/2021, an ordinance to make appropriations for the current expenses and other expenses of the village of Minerva Park for the year ending December 31st, 2022. This is the big, thick, proposed budget bill, I guess it's not that thick, for next year.
Is this part of in the packet?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all that is.
And that has been read, that is our first reading on that.
And FYI, I'm gonna stop you just for 1 second. We have started putting the dates on these,
Oh, great.
just so everybody's aware, on the attachments.
All right, ordinance 18/2021, an ordinance establishing health care benefits for employees and the mayor and authorizing the purchase of health insurance and declaring an emergency, however, we are gonna not waive readings on it. This is just the changes to our insurance. Of course, anyone who knows or works or what have you knows that your insurance plans often change and change and whatnot.
And then just as an FYI, this is a little different than what I told you guys on Saturday. Because of the way that we did this, we were able to add the part-time information into this document. So please read through this. If anybody has any problems, questions, or concerns, let me know. But basically, it is adding, if a part-time employee, that's been with the village at least 90 days is what we determined to be the best that we felt, that we needed, they would pay 50% of the premium. Again, this is just the first reading, so we do have plenty of time to go over this in the finance meeting and all of that, but the part-time, we were able to add into this document, and it is just for medical insurance, not vision, dental, and all of the above.
I
So,
think-
So it was added in, is what you're saying?
we were able to put it, you're gonna see like, if you go to section 11, 10 and 11, you're gonna see it in there. So-
Section 11 doesn't look right, just to say.
It just needs moved, yes. Part-time
It's-
employees will be eligible for major medical coverage as described above. After 90 days of employment, employees must average at least 20 hours per week for the, so we've gotta fix the previous year.
Right,
Yeah.
that's that.
Well,
So-
don't we need to come to, because if we don't approve this based on the part-time employee requirement, then we're not approving it for anybody.
Correct.
well, hold on.
We can strike that part.
We can, through discussion, amend the legislation before us and pass it as amended.
Okay,
So-
I'm with you.
The other part is we do plan to have a finance meeting before then, so if this document needs adjusted before the final reading, we can also do that after we get to, after we get through the finance meeting.
Well,
So-
there's another, all right, there's another meeting before.
Yeah.
we're not waiving it, or we're not waiving any readings, so we even have a work session before this. So we
And
have
we're
plenty of
still working
time.
on the numbers?
So, the numbers are set, I mean, it's just a matter of you guys seeing what it looks like, basically it's gonna cost $300 a month per employee. That's what it would cost the village, $300 per month per employee.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Alright,
And that's
moving
an
on,
average.
19/20/21, ordinance 19/2021. An ordinance updating the Village of Minerva Park salary ranges, the number of employees and positions for the Village of Minerva Park. This is just a first reading.
And Diane asked a question for me on Saturday, so just to clarify.
Okay.
She asked if this had changed from ordinance 03-2021, I believe is what it was. The only thing that has changed from this is the patrol officers, the from hourly, actually, the range shortened. The highest amount did not go up. The
Lowest amount came up.
highest amount did not come up, just, yeah, the lowest amount came up. And then the lifeguards, minimum wage is actually $9.30 for 2022, not $8.80. So you will see an adjustment to that, only because minimum wage. The only other one that I believe changed was due to a 3% increase, for another year of service. So that was the only thing that has changed, is we're at the top for one of the people on there. And that's it, nothing else has changed.
Awesome, and that was the first reading, anyone with any questions on that?
So the only thing that's not on that list is the mayor then, correct?
I can't be touched
That's
for 4 years.
determined by legislation.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
legislation and it doesn't get touched, and neither does your guys', can't be touched within
Within your term.
your term.
27th Amendment, all right.
There you go.
I'll look this deal.
Okay, ordinance 2020/21, yes, I said that right. An ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for the current expense of the Village of Minerva Park for the year 2021. This, I believe, is giving the TIF money to where it needs to be at MI, is that it?
Correct. And then the other thing on here is we are creating a, we applied for a safety grant and we were given $1,000 for that, and it's basically opening up an account to put, or opening up a line for the safety grant. So that was $1,000 that we got for a safety grant, and we're gonna spend it on a safety item. We'll be dealing with, chief to determine, we've already talked about it, so, it's just to determine if that's what we're gonna move forward on. But yes, the large amount is the money that comes in is gotta go out.
Yeah. Money that is collected in property tax, for those people at home curious, we collect property tax money from the new build section. However, that money is earmarked to go to MI homes to repay for the streets and sewer and water line work and such they put in when they build one of those developments.
There you go.
All right, resolution 2021-32, a resolution authorizing the mayor and fiscal officer to enter into various reoccurring contracts necessary for the continuous operation of the village. These are a lot of the smaller contracts that just go on all the time, like Paycor, who does our payroll, the mosquito spraying, and all of that.
I had one question about flow line on that.
Yes.
Is that a reoccurring every year thing?
So
For what?
technically, yes, I mean, flow line is, if there is a situation in the village that is $3,000 or $4,000, that there's a clog to something, it allows me to be able to move forward and get that done. So yes,
So
it
there's
is,
just like a, okay.
yeah, but I mean, here's what I would say,
Not
maybe,
necessarily, I mean, there's not, right now today, there's nothing for them.
there's nothing for them, it's just on here in case there's something, no. I mean, here's how, I'm gonna say this may change in the future for somebody else, but
It's there so we don't have to pass a, I get.
yeah, something, yeah, if there's a $5,000 sewer issue that is an emergency of some
What's the
sort.
amount, do you know offhand?
They're just on here, no, I mean.
There's not an amount?
No, same thing with, every single year we get a KGT contract. It's just so I don't have to continue to go back through with you guys every single year to go
Well,
over
every
that.
one of them's got an amount though, like
Not
the
on
law.
this legislation.
Not on this legislation, this is just legislation that we've done every single year going back to like
So it's
2013.
well, I guess what I'm getting at, this is when we approve the water records contract.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
so there's no number for the water records contract?
Again,
Like how much, well, you know, it's just an open, because we've approved this legislation, there's an open checkbook for the water record?
so
You have to
So, well,
appropriate.
that's-
you can request to see any of the contracts, most of these contracts we will have in hand before the end of the year, so you're more than welcome to see it, but like the Franklin County Public Defender or the Franklin County Health Department for the plumbing inspections, those types of things, those may come in March.
So, again, well, let's go back, so flow lines, it's just like an open PO, I'm not understanding.
No, so
I'm
if
getting more confused as, I'm more
Yeah,
trying to
so
explain
let's say there's an emergency, right? Because it's an emergency situation, they come out, you get a $4,000 bill. then she had a right to call them, because there's an agreement to get them to fix it. Now, normally, you know, in an emergency anyways, we may have to do something with somebody without a contract, and that's the purpose of the emergency council would appropriate the funds after the fact if necessary, right? So in many cases though, you still have to appropriate the line items that they draw out of, and you know, and then we can write a PO. It's just we don't have to go through each contract individually every time that the mayor wants to enter into it. You're basically approving a batch way for her to sign our normal operational contracts on a year-to-year basis.
But wait,
I don't know about flow line, but generally, if you're working with someone a lot, you may have choose to have a master contract, which has legal garbage, blah, blah, blah. And then you do a work order underneath that as work comes up. But then each work order is signed, and you may think of it as a contract. It is, but it's called a work order. It falls under the master. So all of the stuff about you're liable, we're liable, blah, blah, all that happens up top. And so I don't think Flowline has a master contract. I just think Tiffany put it on there, but they don't have a contract.
Yeah, when there's
I think
something,
that's wrong.
when there's something over a couple $1,000s, Flowline is definitely one of those that I don't have.
That's her
authority to.
that's her go-to, that's all.
Well, that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, that's
I'm
a go-to,
still not
so.
getting it, how there's, what we're doing is approving all these contracts, okay? There's that's what the, okay.
No,
What
the
all right,
authorization is
there's
to
a all right,
enter into a contract.
Can I finish, please? Thank you. This is all these different contracts that we have for the law director, the prosecutor. There's a contract for the law director, there's a contract for the prosecutor. Okay, what contract is it that we're approving for Flowline right now?
No, we are not approving
Approving
a
any
contract.
Okay,
We
so,
are authorizing the mayor to enter into contracts with these organizations,
Right.
To
In
the
other
best
words,
that I see
all right,
fit.
They're approved
I'll
vendors.
have to sleep on this one.
right? And now,
I hear what you're saying.
the second part of your council control over these is we also appropriate the funds to pay for those contracts. Right, so we authorize the mayor to enter into a contract. The mayor goes and makes those arrangements, and then they still have to come back to council and say it's time to pay this, and we have to appropriate those funds. So we get two chances, so, you know, the one that always gets in my craw is KTT.
Then why are we doing it?
We're doing
The point of this is to do this so we don't have to pass legislation.
no, but I
Then
don't,
why are we putting this
You
in there?
always have to do it twice, even if,
No, you
even if they
don't.
can't,
no,
yes.
no.
You
You
can't
don't.
authorize them and
You
appropriate
know
in
what?
the same legislation.
KGT has a current contract. I think their contract renewal is up sometime in February, March, something
Yeah.
like
Who,
that. Something like that.
KGT.
KGT's contract is up. This is just merely a convenience vehicle to say, if the KGT contract comes back within a couple $100 of last year's, and no one in council said, we refuse to allow you to contract with KGT again, you don't renew with them, find somebody else. But if she's gotten her budget, her administrative budget, an extra $300, and she's gonna go ahead and sign that KGT, she doesn't have to come to council for that.
Right.
That's,
This is just convenience that started with the previous mayor.
Yes.
I understand.
That's all.
Yeah, we have done this way for at least 6 years, which means you voted on this at least 3 times in the past.
And Flowline's been on it every time?
I don't know,
Again, that was one that was
That's
added
the
just
one
because,
if
because we
Flowline-
had the issue with Flowline in the last 18 months.
I understand, you're right.
So-
We've
so-
been doing this,
so
and I
Flowline
understand
is your only
everything about
concern?
it.
If Flowline's an
But your
issue,
interpretation of how this
So
works
you're-
differs from mine,
so
and
you're-
you're
you're-
entitled to
hold on.
your interpretation.
so your only concern is flow line?
Yeah.
then we'll remove it.
Then just remove it, just say, I have a concern with flow line, remove it. And,
We will.
and that can.
I'm not even, I'm just trying to understand, right? I'm coming to the understanding in the middle of this meeting,
So,
okay?
so.
Actually, I'll remind you that you did this exact same thing at the end of last year when we did this
With
exact
Flowline?
same. No, not with Flowline, but
Oh,
with this
with
exact same document, we
Oh.
went through this entire, we
I
had this
understand
conversation last
the
year.
reason that I bring it up every year is because I understand what we're doing, and I have questions about it.
And you're
So
allowed-
whether I have a question last year about it, and it was different than this year's, You know, it's still a valid question.
It's absolutely.
And it's not a waste of time.
Nobody's
Well, but
questioning
you're-
it.
Well,
No, we're just reminding you that this is the same document and it's the same issue that you had last year, and if there's something that
It's
you
not the
don't.
same issue.
Okay, if you don't like flow line on it, the point to it is when we had an issue, there was an issue on Park Lane, there was a stopped up storm sewer. If the repair comes back more than what I can sign for, that is an issue.
I understand that.
Okay,
I
well, if it's
understand.
not on here, I can't sign it.
Well, but it's, all right,
So that's that. I mean, it's just, it's one of those things that, yes, it's a convenience factor. I was voted in to be the mayor, to make some of these decisions. If you don't trust me with some of these decisions, then that is your choice. I mean, you can vote yes, you can vote no. This is a document that we've done numerous times. It is entirely up to you, but I think it's time, that's only a reading. We're not voting on it tonight, and let's move on.
I'm not implying that it's not because I don't trust you, Todd.
No, and it's fine, but here's what I would say, if flow line is your issue, I would be more than happy to remove flow line from it. That flow line was not on it in the past, it's just a convenience factor. And maybe convenience is not what we need on that, and it is seriously not an issue, we can remove it. So just let me know on that, before the third reading would be great.
I don't have to deal with it, it's the next council's got to deal with it.
All right, moving on then, resolution 2021-34, a resolution confirming the mayor's appointment of Matthew Clark as a full-time police officer for the village of Minerva Park and declaring an emergency. We've also been asked to waive readings. Just a quick thing on this, all this says basically is yes, we are affirming Matthew Clark as a full-time police officer, he works here. He would still be on his 6 months, correct, Chief Del?
That is correct.
It's not changing any real status of his employment, it's just kind of making it official. Cause right now technically he's kind of in limbo because we haven't, approved her appointment or confirmed it, I guess that's the word they use in here. So I'm gonna first move to, waive the second and third reading.
Second.
Alright. Councilperson McNamara.
Aye.
Council President Wolf.
Aye.
Councilperson Berger.
Aye.
Councilperson Trim.
Aye.
Councilperson Benedetti.
Aye.
All right, and having the waived readings, I'm gonna move that we pass it on a emergency.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay.
All right.
Someone's got it.
And it even says right in here that he's being appointed in confirmation for a probationary period of 6 months, so that's right in the,
Yes.
right in the legislation,
Alright.
resolution.
Councilperson Trim.
Aye.
Councilperson McNamara.
Aye.
Councilperson Benedetti.
Aye.
Councilperson Berger.
Aye.
Council President Wolf.
Aye.
Alright.
Excuse me. Resolution 2021-35, a resolution confirming the mayor's appointment of Tammy Phillips as a full-time police lieutenant for the village of Minerva Park, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Same thing. Except from this one, hold on a second. Yep, it's still giving her a 6-month probationary period. Essentially the exact same thing, but this for our new lieutenant, Tammy Phillips, as opposed to our new officer, Matthew Clark. I'm going to move that we waive the second and third reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
All right.
Any discussion?
Well, where did she work at before?
Mifflin.
Mifflin? Is it?
Okay. Thank you. Alright, Councilperson McNamara.
Aye.
Council President Wolf.
Aye.
Councilperson Trim.
Aye.
Councilperson Benedetti.
Aye.
And Councilperson Berger. Thank you.
Aye. All right, having waived the second and third readings, I move that we pass as an emergency.
Second.
Okay. Councilperson Berger.
Aye.
Councilperson Benedetti.
Aye.
Councilperson Trim.
Aye.
Council President Wolf.
Aye.
Councilperson McNamara.
Aye.
All right, moved and passed as an emergency. Welcome to Minerva Park Police, Matthew and Tammy. All right, resolution 2021-36, a resolution adopting the rules of council for the council of the village of Minerva Park for 2022. First reading. And that's something that has to be done every year, is rules of councils have to be adopted for the following year. Why we have that on the agenda.
Okay, well, we will get that fixed because it says 2021. And I'm only saying that because I know she's watching it and she'll help me get that fixed tomorrow. So we will make sure that that says 2022. And then,
It's funny.
if everybody could, go ahead, I was getting ready to probably say what you're about to say. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm just saying that the rules of council, it's attached, if you scroll down, you'll see, I've got blue and red markers.
Yes.
And on anything that was changed, so you can go ahead before the work session, if you have anything. And I'm not sure, after all that discussion on the, green card thing, and, I'm not sure I got it in the right place, so you check me on that.
We'll figure it out.
It's exactly what I was about to say. So, you're on it. If everybody could look at the red and the blue, see if that's exactly what we wanted it to say. We can wait until the next meeting, we can wait until the work session to make sure all those are final. The new calendar has been added, as well, so if everybody could look at the calendar and make sure there's not any conflicts or any kind of holidays that I totally missed, just let me know before then. But if everybody could start reviewing that now, so by the second reading, we can make sure that we have everything the way that, by next week, we have everything the way that we want it, or worst case, by the third reading.
If I can just say thank you for compiling those changes.
Oh,
'cause
Yes.
That is a thing that I would never get done.
At least we admit it, don't
That
we?
is well outside my wheelhouse.
That's in the packet too?
Yes, so, yeah.
You can see strike throughs and
And if you're-
whatnots in the packet.
And if you print it in color, it's even red and blue,
So,
or
okay.
look at it online.
All right, so, that is all the legislation, thank you, Mark. Let's move to old business. Yes?
Okay, I forgot to ask. I'm not always plugged into all the gossip and everything around. So on Chief Delp, I just wanted to, it seems like we pretty much are replacing the whole force, or what?
The third, yes.
Sure. And I just wondered, I haven't seen the dog around and I didn't know if that was because the dog's no longer here.
Oh, dog's here, yeah.
Dog's here, so the dog didn't go, okay,
Yeah, we're all good.
we're good.
Dog's still here.
wanted to
Basically,
check on the
we
dog.
had a retirement.
Oh, you did? Oh.
And then we had, two officers, one took a job in Florida, and another took a job in another Central Ohio agency. Again, pay,
Yeah,
so, I think it just happened. They all applied at different times, it just all came to the singularity point of, happening at once, so. Getting people hired has been difficult because of, they have to go through a medical, and a stress test for Ohio Police and Fire, and there's just shortage of medical staff right now. And getting them into, Mount Carmel for the stress test is just, because it has to be reviewed by a cardiologist, and it's just, working through those steps, so, and then supply chain issues with uniforms. But yay, we got 3 people, so we're happy. We'll be up to, in a few weeks, we'll be up to full staff again, and, so right now, we're down 1.
okay, thank you.
And I just wanna say thanks to Chief, I know, he has been taking the brunt of,
I'm sure.
the sergeant and the lieutenant. He has been the sergeant, lieutenant, and the chief, for a few months now. So, I know he's been a little busy, to say the least. So, thank you. Any other old business? New business?
I'll just, for anybody's listening, as far as as I understand it, as far as the closing of Mineral Lake Road at 3 as being a possibility, it's supposed to be just maybe for a few hours or maybe a couple days. We don't know when at this point.
Correct?
And do you think we'll get in? Do you think you as a mayor will get a courtesy notice?
No, I don't. I'm just gonna be honest with you, I would be lying if I did. But here's what I would say. It took us a couple hours to figure out, I should say, our administrative assistant Barb did quite a bit of research to figure out who was actually doing the project, and she is going to be calling every couple of days just to get an update. So if we get an update knowing when it's gonna be closed, because again, we would like to know when it's gonna be closed, obviously the chief would like to know when it's gonna be closed. We wanna make sure that, our fire and EMS don't have any issues or problems, so fingers crossed that yes, I shouldn't be a jerk and say that I probably won't know, but usually I am the last to know when AEP's in here doing something, or the gas company, I'm usually one of the last to know. So, but we are hopeful that if nothing else, the chief will know.
Okay, thank you.
So, but yes, we will be calling, we will update Facebook, website, everything, and
Be a
even
good
send
thing
out
for
text
the-
blast.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing for the text.
Yes, so as soon as
last
we know
text.
that, even the morning when it's closed, we can get it posted just so people are aware. But we're hopeful that we'll know at least the day before, but we're trying to keep tabs on it.
Okay. Okay, and then the middle school, do you know when they're gonna stop working on it, or are they just basing that on the weather? Are they gonna work on it all winter?
Oh, yeah.
Are they?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
In order to make their dates in 2 years, yeah, they've got to work on it
Okay.
nonstop almost.
Okay. It's just a pretty hot mess, muddy mess over there right now.
I know, if there's anything, let the mayor know and she'll let me know. And I had recently got them to get a street sweeper more often out there, and they should be continuing to be done.
They sweep it this
Yeah,
afternoon.
they should be getting out there,
This afternoon.
so let me know.
I can speak.
Alright, citizen comments, or wait, anybody new business anymore? Okay, well, okay, citizen comments. Anything, go ahead.
If you could give us your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Larry Segovia, 3090 Middle Lake Road. There was a 47-minute discussion on citizen comments at the work session on November 6th. And very few people come to make citizen comments. I didn't come here to disrupt or yell or waste your time. It's probably more a waste of my time, is what it seems like. I came about one incident in which I've raised multiple issues about, including disparaging comments that were made about residents. The citizen comment cards and the 3-minute limit with a 9-minute total limit was put in place due to one citizen. That, in my opinion, was a way to limit that citizen's time speaking, primarily because the rest of council did not want to listen to anything that citizen commented about, as opposed to claims of abusing it, because the citizen was following the rules of council. Comments I have made in the past few meetings have been based on this I made ahead of time. I mentioned at the last council meeting that I did repeat some points multiple times, and I've done so for various reasons. But no one's asked me why, and most of you likely don't care. I did not talk about the same topic every time, which is contrary to what some have said or implied. I guess rambling is all some of you heard, which I understand, so what? I looked at the recording lengths of the past council meetings, and none in this year were over 2 hours. Matter of fact, it's been over a year since any of the council meetings recordings that I saw were over 2 hours. So maybe some of it's really more that people that are here during those meetings and participating in them are rambling and saying the same thing over and over, and that's why it seems like it's over 2 hours. I don't know. Working police chief and lieutenant and sergeant, that OT pay must be building up. You're gonna have a great Christmas.
But, if only.
If only.
He'll be buying you presents because he's making all the big bank there.
You should be.
OT pay.
Well, thank you for your comments.
No, I was on council at the time. That's how I
Well,
know.
it's not like a president's always a president once they're, oh, it's gonna count your councilman, but sorry. But I appreciate you coming up here and taking the time to go through all of the meetings, because that was the conversation, is that this meeting, hour and 10 minutes, and this is one with a bunch of legislation in it. So we're, the citizens' comments is an important part of this meeting. It's probably the most important part of this meeting. And it was said last time that what if 20 people show up and want to talk for 5 minutes? Well, you know what I would say to that? Is that if 20 people show up, you better bet you got a problem. Okay? And it's all the more reason to listen to what every minute of what they have to say. This is ridiculous, that this little friendly village has a 3-minute limit on how much you're willing to listen to, and the way you describe it, get yelled at or berated. You know, what comes first? You know, the inappropriate action of the village, which induces this negative response from its residents? That's what happens first in all of these cases of people coming to the meeting to express their disappointment with this group. And to limit the amount of time that you want to listen, that you're willing to listen to the residents, is the most despicable thing. And it's going to be your legacy, your footprint on the character of this village, because you're creating it with this type of treatment of the residents. That's why I started coming to these meetings, and you're going to be hearing about it every meeting for the next year, about how screwed up this village operates. You know, we just recently went into executive session. That was a joke. We should, you know, now that I've, you know, looked at the law, we should have never went into executive session, but don't even start. We should have never went into executive session for the reason that we did. And I had 3 questions that I submitted that I want answers to from Jesse in my email. And we're going to be talking about how half-assed this village functions. And the executive session is another example of it. The way we're treating Roberto Segovia is another example of it, because what's happened here is there's been 2 people that have come to this meeting telling us that the last mayor told them that they were not going to have to cut the grass and maintain the areas around the fence. There's been 2 people that have come here and told us that. And what it boils down to is that the mayor's decided, I don't care what the last mayor told you, because I'm going to stick it to you, just like Eric described it. And that's what you're doing to Segovia's, and sticking it to them. Because I guarantee you, I can't guarantee you, but it is more than likely that the mayor promised that this stuff would be taken care of in an attempt to ease the issue of having this put in their yards against their wishes. You know, so, you know, I can't wait for next year. You know, that's all I had to say.
Alright. Okay, any other new business? Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Alright.
Alright.
Because
we also promised.
I think
from
you
Lynn.
will speak to
So does that
you know,
mean-
because I'm going to be coming to council every month with, well, and I'm going to be presenting I'm going to be making a presentation every month, and I'm going to hope that instead of just like happens to Segovia, you just blow them off, you know, oh, thanks for listening, oh, thanks, and move on, and nothing said about it again. I'm going to hold you guys' feet to the fire, and you better start addressing what I and the other people come to this council and ask questions. And, you know, it's already firing off at you because I have high hopes for you. You know, those 2 are, they do nothing more than they absolutely have to. The bare minimum. That's what Mark and Brian did. And I see, I have hope.
That was all. And one reason why I didn't care, because we only have 2 more meetings. So
And
it
it's not-
doesn't do us any good to really.
Right, that's all I can say. And I know that